Hello everyone, I'm Sue Levitt, your host for the Flood Channel. On this program, we provide you updates and important information on the Clark County Regional Flood Control District's efforts and plans to prevent flooding throughout our valley. Under our city lies many miles of flood channels and systems in place that currently work to drastically reduce flooding throughout our city. And as our community grows, many other projects are underway, including a major project near the Speedway that's working to prevent flooding in the North Las Vegas area of town. Traffic flows steady here along I-15 near the Speedway. Commuters completely unaware and unaffected by a large construction project happening right beneath them. Tunneling has begun under I-15 to prepare for the installation of a large storm drain. The storm drain will serve to protect people and property in North Las Vegas from potential flooding in the area.
A lot of people don't see it happening, and they just see a hole in the ground and they don't know what's going on down in the hole. There's a lot of engineering and safety that goes on to get it done. We have a rail system that we set up down in the bottom, and they use lasers and a lot of GPS. And when they'll start tunneling, this specific type of boring that we're using is a direct jack. That means a guy actually rides inside the rail and digs through the tunnel until the container gets full of the material. Then he'll back it out. A crane will take off with the material, dump it, put it back on the rail tracks, and then the guy goes back in, augers, pulls it out.
When this project is complete, the storm drain will stretch approximately 5,200 feet. The downstream end of the project starts at Hollywood Boulevard and Centennial Parkway in North Las Vegas. The stormwater pipe will extend to the north along Hollywood Boulevard and continues on Speedway Boulevard northwest of the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. From there, the project continues north, crosses under I-15, and runs north along the west side of the Manheim, Nevada auto auction property to its upstream endpoint at the Speedway No. 2 detention basin.
So this project in this particular area is very beneficial for the city of North Las Vegas. And this area in particular, if you know, recently it's just exploded with development, with businesses. Amazon's out here, several big companies, lots of jobs have been created. I mean, this really was the vision for the city of North Las Vegas in this area. And so the flood control infrastructure is really key.
With this key portion of the Flood Control District's master plan in place, local businesses will be able to operate without worrying about water destroying their property due to flash flooding.
It's really to protect the residents and the businesses in here. As you know, the desert environment brings a lot of rain, it brings it real quick, and so it's very important to get the floodwaters out of here underground to protect the roadways and the buildings' life safety measures.
There's years of hard work that goes into these projects to be able to get to this point. So, you know, along the way, there's a lot of design that has to happen. When we want to put a pipe under a road, we have to figure out where's the sewer, where's the water lines, where's the electrical, where's the power. We work through environmental permits. It takes a lot of months and a lot of people to coordinate a project like this.
The project to install the storm drain started September 13th, 2021, and is expected to take about a year to complete.
I enjoy the challenge. It's fun getting a group of guys and getting them to all be on the same wavelength and find out what's expected, try to maximize it and beat it. And it's fun being out here. To me, you stay healthy, you stay fit. You're doing something for the city you work in and live in. There's a lot of self-satisfaction and reward that comes with that, you know.
Construction plans in the project area have carefully been considered to minimize traffic disruptions, congestion, and delays, especially during major events that take place at the Las Vegas Speedway, like the NASCAR Cup Series or the Electric Daisy Carnival.
So we've spoken to the Speedway. We get their schedule and find out what they have coming up on a chain of events. And then before that event comes, I go and button up the street, get it as tight and safed off as possible so we can reduce any accidents or anything that can go wrong.
My 6-year-old daughter says that my job is to make sure that your carpet stays dry when it rains. And I kind of like that, you know. It's something people don't think about that often, but until you have a flood, right? And then when you've experienced the devastation of what flooding can be, you start to ask the questions like what's being done. And so to know that something in Clark County is being done about it, that we put almost $2 billion into the flood control system here. We built almost 700 miles of storm drains like this. You know, it's a tremendous accomplishment.
The total cost of this project is $10.2 million. The funding for the design and construction comes from the Clark County Regional Flood Control District. The total cost for the Speedway project is $10.2 million, and funding for the design and construction comes from the Clark County Regional Flood Control District. Well, another major project is underway along Charleston Boulevard, an area that's had a long history of flash flooding. Those that have lived in Las Vegas for many years know all too well the problems flash flooding has caused for our city. But thanks to the many efforts from the Clark County Regional Flood Control District, the Charleston Underpass has not flooded since 2009. And more efforts along Charleston are currently underway to assure the entire area is free of flooding. Drivers will notice construction taking place here along East Charleston, but all for a very important reason. For years, there has not been sufficient underground storm drains in place that would adequately drain floodwaters from this area. Residents would have to deal with floodwater after rainfall, sometimes rushing down East Charleston Boulevard. The Clark County Regional Flood Control District is solving this problem by installing massive storm drains deep beneath the road.
We use what's called reinforced concrete box. And so this is a big concrete box. It's 18 feet wide by 8 feet tall, so I could stand in it comfortably. They're massive, and they go underground, and we put them together piece by piece by piece, and that allows us to then create the storm drain and a long connected network that way.
The long connected network to help water flow safely through our valley stretches for 667 miles underneath and around our city. Once completely installed, the 4-mile section of storm drains that will run from Boulder Highway to Maryland Parkway will connect the current networks, helping to divert floodwater safely and away from homes and businesses.
The complete storm drain system is being upgraded to handle the new capacities for the flows the city has designated. This storm drain ties into an existing storm drain system already in the Boulder Highway alignment. We're bringing it up now into the Charleston intersection, where we're going to make it through this radius and down the road of Charleston. And on its way, it's going to be a major collector of other arterial storm drain flows, specifically at Eastern intersection and near Maryland Parkway.
A project of this magnitude takes years to complete. The planning and design phase began in April of 2017 with careful thought and consideration of underground utility lines that include existing power, water, and sewer systems in place.
Las Vegas paving has plenty of obstacles in front of us. The construction in this urban environment, in an intersection that hasn't been upgraded in quite some time. There are existing utilities, some of which have also been abandoned. The abandoned utilities inevitably end up being in our way. Some of the existing utilities, even though we account for them the best we can, the relocations need to happen before you can bring a box of this size in. So the biggest obstacle is us clearing the corridor in advance of the storm drain system. So we're going to need to make the space for it, and that means relocation of water lines, sewer systems, all leading up to the eventual movement of the box through the intersection.
To complete the project here in this busy intersection where Charleston meets Boulder Highway, crews work around the clock in a marathon construction event that begins on a Wednesday night at 8 p.m. and is finished by Monday at 5 a.m. Getting work completed in just 4.5 days rather than 3 weeks helps minimize the impact to the surrounding businesses and allows crews to get in and out quickly.
We understand and that we're making every effort to get the construction done as quickly as possible. The benefit at the end of the project will be massive once that first major rain event happens and their residents and businesses aren't flooded out.
The goal is to eliminate scenes like this, where water has nowhere to go but back up into the streets, causing devastating flooding in our community.
The problem, though, is if you want to fix that flooding, you have to have somewhere to take the water. And so for years, there wasn't any storm drains or big areas that we could drain to. And so over time, we've built all these storm drains downstream. We've been working our way up and up and up. And now we're finally to this location. It's kind of exciting to think that our storm drain and our regional network has gotten all the way up here so we can drain Charleston Boulevard into this project and solve those problems.
The infrastructure, of course, is the lifeblood of any healthy city, and of course, the storm drain system has been undersized for quite some time, so the security of installing a system that can handle the flows is important to the valley.
The idea that the work that we're doing really helps people. I mean, flooding can be devastating, right? To people and property, businesses. And so to be part of a project like this, to work with a great team and the people at the Flood Control District to solve problems, make our community a little safer is a great thing to do.
The Charleston, Maryland storm drain project is expected to take about 2 years to complete and should be finished by December of 2023. Well, with many ongoing projects taking place all throughout the valley, the Clark County Regional Flood Control District values input and ideas from the public. This is why they've established a Citizens Advisory Committee to advise the board on local flood matters in Clark County. The committee is made up of people from all over the valley, including the City of Las Vegas, Clark County, North Las Vegas, Boulder City, Henderson, and Mesquite.
I have fun with it. I'm honored to work with such an unbelievable group of employees here. And it's just a joy really to be a part of this committee.
Bill Starmer has been a member of the Citizens Advisory Committee for about 5 years now. He moved to Las Vegas in 1990 and recalls what it was like in our town back then after big storms.
I remember the days that water ran through the parking lots or parking garages at some of the casinos out in the northwest part of the valley. I remember areas that you couldn't go through because of the flooding. And over the years, because of the Flood Control District, 90% of those problems have now been resolved.
Bill served as the CEO for the YMCA before retiring 20 years ago. After Bill retired, he was looking for ways to stay busy, and because he believed strongly in volunteering, he decided to join the Citizens Advisory Committee.
I think it's critically important to have other voices that come from a different perspective, a different background, who may look at things a little differently. And so the work of the Flood Control District is, I've learned so much, I can't begin to tell you.
Today, the committee members are taking a tour to get up close and actually see some of the many flood basins, channels, and storm drains constructed throughout the valley to safely divert flood water away from homes and businesses.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm gonna see how many I've already checked out because I am familiar with a lot of the washes and the basins. So I'm excited to learn more about it.
Bertha Gutierrez has been involved with the committee for a little over a year now. She's enjoyed learning more about what the Flood Control District does for our community and is excited to share what she learns with others.
I'm probably gonna be an errand when I'm driving around with people. I'm gonna let them know.
And what most may not know is the Clark County Regional Flood Control District has installed 667 miles of underground channels, storm drains, and systems that carry water safely through the valley during big storms. There's also flood control basins that collect and store water before safely releasing it in a controlled manner to downstream flood control facilities and away from the public.
But it's been very informative to learn where the money comes from, what kind of projects are getting done, where they're getting done, and just to learn more about the process has been very informative.
Bill and Bertha are 2 of the 10 valuable volunteer members that make up the committee. The members serve to represent the public on proposed projects and initiatives and to offer their input into the decision-making process.
They are willing to take input. Steve Parrish has been here the entire time I've been on the committee, and he's such a joy to work with. And the staff do an amazing job of putting together the materials that are provided to us so we can take a look and see what's happening, the financial reports, the plans for what's coming. Just an unbelievable group of people.
I think it's extremely important to really have the community be involved in all of these public processes. There should be more of this.
Along with learning and gaining knowledge to share with others, some valuable friendships are made along the way.
I enjoy every minute of it. I've made a very, very dear friend who represents Mesquite. And we were talking just recently that it's nice to finally be coming back together to see each other. And when he's been a bit ill recently, and so I called him a month ago and said, "You weren't at the meeting, where were you?" And so you develop those kind of relationships as well, and it doesn't get any better. I would urge anybody who has interest to look into volunteer opportunities around. They are everywhere.
If you would like to learn more or volunteer to be part of the Citizens Advisory Committee, you can get more information on the district's website at regionalflood.org. Well, another way the district works to inform and educate the public is by taking a virtual reality experience into classrooms to reach young people. Jesse Acuna shows how the virtual experience shows young drivers just how dangerous it can be to drive through flooded streets.
This is not science fiction. This is a fact of life for students today. So much time is spent on electronic devices. Often the best way to reach them is through the computer they hold in their hands.
We're a desert. Why is it flooding?
Because it rains all at once.
Because it rains all at once? Okay, good. What else? So, like, when it rains here, it just pours down. Like a lot of rain really fast.
Every 2 years, the district surveys residents about what they know about flash flooding. About 70% of residents tell us they turn around when they encounter a flooded road. But the statistics are very different for young drivers.
What about kids your age? How many of them do you think drove through it? 100%. 100%. Possibly. Hopefully not. Do you guys want to guess? How many do you think actually drove through it?
Probably 80%.
You guys are close. It's 67% roughly, or 60, around that. You actually drove through it. That means potentially either you guys or your peers saw a flooded street and were like, not a problem, drove right through it. Okay, we're gonna learn why we're not gonna do that.
The VR experience is designed to change behavior of young drivers. Virtual reality gives the district the ability to show someone exactly what will happen if they take on Mother Nature.
It was very cool and it was very realistic, but it was also scary because seeing you in that position is really scary to see how the water rises so high and how fast and quickly something like that could happen, and it can be very dangerous. So it was very scary, yeah.
Teaching a teen to drive is a stressful process for everyone involved. There's so much to learn and practice, and rain rarely comes into those lessons.
Once it rains first 30 minutes, I tell them it's a nice skating rink. Slow down, take your foot off the gas pedal, drop the speed 5 to 10 miles an hour, and just continue on.
Safeway is the first private driving school to incorporate the VR experience into the classroom. Safeway President Clemos Kelly purchased Google Cardboard for his classes so students could view the experience in 3D directly through their phones. Mercedes Bryan is a 16-year-old Coral Academy of Science junior. She has a permit and attended Safeway over the summer to learn what she needed for her full license.
Animation, I could see how scary it could be in life, and there was this guy that was right next to you, and you could look over and see how his head was like underwater and how your head was underwater too. It would be scary to see your friend in that situation that you're driving around, because I'm really close with my friends and I'd blame myself for it, honestly, if I were to see my friend like that.
In the VR experience, you are the driver and your best friend is the passenger. Things go from great to worse very quickly.
That was pretty scary, seeing like the guy under the water. Like, I looked to the right of me and I saw that he was like stuck under there. But then the people came in with the helicopter and they saved him.
Lloyd has been teaching driver's ed for more than 15 years. He knows his students are always on their phones and is glad he can provide something that will really hit home for them.
Did they like it? They'd like to see it incorporated. They didn't realize it gets that bad. A lot of kids don't watch the news. And that's the big thing I catch on the news. Being part of my job is to walk in the morning, ask them how it's gone. Did you see anything on the news? It was just on the news a couple of days ago about down in Arizona had the flash flood. So they just don't look at it. This is going to open their eyes. I get to teach any of the kids that are here in class, they're going to get the full focus of it.
Sierra Leone's mother is teaching her daughter to drive, but never thought about explaining flash flooding to her.
No, until I saw the video, here through the Regional Flood Control District. I hadn't given it much thought, to be honest with you. And then once I saw the video, I'm like, why hadn't I? Why hadn't I discussed this? Because it's a real issue. I do think it was very important because it was very realistic. Having that 360 view and feeling like you were actually in the driver's seat was very, very realistic. I actually brought my 12-year-old and my 11-year-old sons too, and they were really impacted. So they were really impacted too. They're like, oh my goodness. And so then they were giving the 16-year-old, my daughter, all lessons about what she shouldn't be doing when they're driving. So yeah, I think that the more students and the younger you get them, I think the more impactful the video is.
Sanchez's daughter has been driving for 6 months before she saw the video. Now she has a clearer focus.
From seeing that, you can tell that water always wins, and just seeing that, I wouldn't want to put myself in that position, in a dangerous position. So.
The district is working with local driving schools, the Clark County School District, and UNLV to share the experience. It's also available in 3D on our YouTube channel, where it's being viewed by people all over the world. We also share it with engineers to show them how important their work is.
So with the VR, the reason we created it is to target young drivers, new drivers, basically drivers under 24. What we found out is 70% roughly of adults, if they approach a street that's flooded, they will turn around. Anybody want to guess how many 16 to 24-year-olds are going to drive right through it?
Most of them.
Yeah, it's about 60%. They're just going to drive right through it. So we realized we need to start targeting that demo and find some ways to get the messaging across it. Obviously, that's really dangerous and risky.
Engineers like to get out of the office and see things hands-on. Technology is a great tool to keep the field evolving.
So like engineering field, we haven't really changed for 100 years. So it'd just be nice to kind of get out the message in a little different way, kind of how people are seeing it nowadays. So that's kind of what keeps my interest. Just like, oh, I didn't know it could be like that, or oh, I don't like all the water at my feet, I can't get out the door. And then the part where you kind of go underwater, I think that's also always powerful, just seeing the feedback on the person, just the way they're moving their head around. And they kind of get quiet, like, oh, is this the end of my virtual character? But they know, hey, maybe I shouldn't turn around. Maybe I should turn around because water always wins.
The district is also sharing the experience with floodplain managers from around the region at conferences. If you know someone who'd like to see it, give us a call at 702-685-0000 or visit us on the web at floodvr.com.
What if I'm going against the flash flood and like me and my friends are like, oh, we can make it, and then we don't make it? That'd just be a very scary experience, especially if somebody in the car that you know and that's very close to you, just to see him like under the water drowning and like you're the reason why that's happening. Yeah, that'd be very scary.
I think it will always be with me, yeah. I think other people, I don't think a lot of people are more knowledgeable about it, and I think a lot of people should be, and I think it's a good thing that we did experience it today.
We want to thank you for joining us for this episode of the Flood Channel. And if you would like more information on the Clark County Regional Flood Control District, you can visit the website at regionalflood.org. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We'll see you next time.